Hello, how's it going?
Oi, uh, I'm great. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for asking.
My
What's
name is
your name?
Jonathan. I'm from Australia. Whereabouts are you from?
My name is Jonas. I'm from Brazil, in the state of São Paulo.
I see. Mm, Maybe you can tell me a little bit about yourself, your job, career, this kind of thing.
Okay. Uh, I am 43 years old. I'm a married. I have a son.
Hmm.
My job. I am a manager in yacht club.
Yacht
I
club.
have a
Okay.
yacht club. I have been studying English for 1 year. I study English by myself at home.
Hmm.
I study English through videos, through apps, on Cambly. Uh, my family. I have five brothers and five sisters. Big family.
Mm, mm.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. For example,
Yep.
are you
Uh,
married
yeah.
or single? Do you have any brothers and sisters?
Yep.
How old
Okay.
are you?
So I'm 29 years old. I'm married, and my wife is Chinese, and I lived in China for about 5 years before.
Oh,
Um,
that's amazing.
yeah, and I came back to Australia just before the coronavirus. So we can't go back to China for a long time, for a while, because of the whole situation. Um, I'm living with my parents at the moment, my mum and dad, and uh, I don't have any brothers or sisters. I don't have children yet, and I am just living and working in Australia at the moment, online. Who's calling me? Someone. Anyway, someone is calling me. Don't worry, just ignore them. Sometimes when I'm talking to students, I get someone else calling me, which is strange because they shouldn't call me when I'm talking. But anyway, um, yeah. So, yeah, and now I live in
Uh,
Australia, and I'm just teaching on Cambly, and I'm not going back to China for probably for a while.
Very good. Tell me about your job. How long have you been teaching English on Cambly?
On Cambly, only for about 2 months.
2 months.
Mm.
Uh, have you had any experience teaching Brazilians on Cambly?
Yeah, I've taught a lot of Brazilians on Cambly. Many. I've taught people from all over Brazil, and I think maybe 10%, 20% of my students are from Brazil.
Oh, very good.
So about 60% are from Saudi Arabia. About maybe 30% or so, approximately, are from um, China, and the rest are from Brazil. Maybe 10 to 20% are from Brazil.
Very good. Uh, what are the Brazilians' biggest difficulties? For example, grammar, pronunciation.
I think pronunciation is probably the biggest difficulty for Brazilians. Often they will speak, they pronounce words that aren't quite accurate. Uh, Maybe sometimes in Portuguese, R is pronounced H, a H sound. So um, like realization, they say like realization, or red, they say head, right? Because the R is like a H sound, right? So
Right.
um, that's a problem for Brazilians pronouncing. But I think the grammar is not too bad, mostly.
Okay. Uh, what do you decide to become an English tutor? Tutor. Do you
Oh, good
understand?
question. Yeah. Good question. Well, because because when I was in China, I taught English, and so when I came back to Australia, um, it was a very easy thing for me to do online. It's very easy to teach English online. The pay isn't great, but it's okay. Um, and when I was in China, I kind of became an English teacher, kind of out of luck. Like in China, and then one of my friends said, "Hey, do you want to teach English?" I said, "Okay," and then that's how I sort of started off on this track of teaching English.
Very good. Do you speak another language?
Yeah, I speak Chinese.
Chinese fluently?
Yep. It's okay.
Who's your favorite singer? Or favorite music?
Well, I don't really have a singular favorite musician per se. I like many different people. I don't really have one I like the most. But for example, if you want to talk about like Chinese musicians, like for example, I have a favorite Chinese musician. His name is Wan Li Hong. He's done a lot of very good, very popular Mandarin songs. You wouldn't know who he is because he sings Chinese, but he's probably my favorite Mandarin singer. I mean, I listen to most of his songs, most of his music. Some of them I don't like, but some of them I do. And I think in terms of musicians, I have a very broad taste. So I like blues and rock and pop musicians and some classical composers. I like many different types of musicians.
Very. Do you know Brazilian music?
Not really. No, sorry, I don't. Can you describe it to me?
No. How can I say? Tim Maia. Do you know? Roberto Carlos.
No, I don't. Sorry, I have no idea about Brazilian music. But are they like a jazz, or are they blues, or is it what kind of music? Latin music, Latin American music.
Romantic music, yeah.
Romantic.
How can I say?
Romantic, maybe.
Romantic music, yeah. I like American music.
Yep.
There are a lot of songs in English, but especially I like rock and roll. I like the singer Freddie Mercury.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yep.
How can I say Freddie Mercury?
Freddie Mercury.
Mercury.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my favorite singer is Adele. Do you like Adele?
My mom likes her. My mom likes Adele.
Okay. Adele is very popular in my country. Adele, she has a beautiful, yes, she has a beautiful voice.
Nice.
Do you like to read?
Yeah, I read. I read a lot of books. I'm reading a few books at the moment.
What a genre of books do you like?
I usually read fact books, maybe about history. I read at the moment a lot of the books I'm reading are about China.
Very good.
Yeah. So about Chinese history, Chinese, just China in general. Like you know the government in China, like the Communist Party in China. I'm reading a lot of books about the leadership in China to understand how and why they do things better.
Do you have a pet? Do you have a beard? A lot of beard.
A lot of here beard.
No.
Bird.
Do you have a pet? Do you have a pet?
Yeah, 3 birds. Yeah, my parents have 3 birds and 1 dog.
How can I say a beard?
Bird.
Bird.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Very good.
They are very noisy. Yeah.
A lot of songs. Beautiful songs.
Yes. Yeah. From the birds. Yeah. They're always making noise. Yeah. everyone asks me about them all the time. Like, oh, you have birds. You have birds. I said, yep, I have birds. 2 birds, 3 birds. Sorry, they're very noisy, but they're very nice birds. They're very cute.
Which language do you feel comfortable to talk? English or Chinese?
Well, I mean, English is my first language, so definitely English is the most comfortable for me. But Chinese, it's comfortable for me, but I can speak kind of like this, pretty close to this, but I still have a lot of words I'm not 100% sure of. But yeah, Chinese is comfortable for me to speak in, definitely.
Very good. What are your plans for the future?
Yeah, good. My plans for the future. Well, in the long-term future, I'd like to live in Australia. I don't want to live in China in the long term. So my wife and I will probably buy a house in Australia someday, and live our life here. In terms of a career, I don't want to teach English forever because it's very it's not the kind of career that you can teach forever now. I think because there's more technology that is it's unlikely that teaching English will be around for the next 10 to 15 years. I think it'll die out eventually because people won't need to speak it anymore or at least the way we learn language will change dramatically, or the way we communicate with people that don't speak our language. We'll just be able to translate what they're saying sort of on the fly as machines become, well, as we get for example, 5G will make communication between devices faster, and we'll be able to communicate probably much more efficiently via electronically than we can now, much faster, and we won't need to speak a language. It'll just be sort of translated for us on the fly. So I think learning English will become less important as time goes on. Definitely in the next 20 years, I don't think many people will be needing to learn English. Maybe they will, but maybe not. So I want to switch my sort of career in the medium to long term to do something more technical, maybe like using computers, computer programming, perhaps.
Very good. Who would you describe to me your personality?
My personality. Yeah, I'm quiet and a bit introverted. I'm not a very outgoing person. I am probably a little bit. How do I say? Yeah, I'm quiet. I'm not very outgoing. I'm interested in things that are I'm interested in maybe intellectual topics, things that are a bit more interesting things. I have a desire to know things. I like to read. But I'm interested in things like, how do I say? I'm interested in things that are, I'm interested in some sports, but I don't like sport merely because it's entertaining to watch. I would like to learn and get good at something that allows me to defend myself, for example. I want to learn something that has multiple purposes. But yeah, I'm generally a quiet person, not too outgoing, and I have kind of intellectual pursuits. I like to read. But I also like to do things. I also like to go outside, spend time outdoors. I like spending time in nature. So I guess I'm I don't know, how would I describe that? I'm open to different things. I'm open to new ideas, and I'm open to exploring and being outdoors and seeing nature, I guess.
Very good. My class time is an hour, yeah?
Yes. 30 seconds.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I hope to see you again.
Yes, that'd be good. Same here. Hope to see you again. Okay.
See you. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.